In today's episode of 54 Yards, we'll be discussing the AFC Divisional Round preview. And we're going to be going into the matchups, what I like, who I like in these games, and, just some feedback, some stats, and some stuff like that for the casual viewer or the avid fan to learn from and listen to. Stay tuned. In the first game, we have the Texans versus the Ravens Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Now, I think this is a very, very important game for both teams, right? You obviously have Stroud, who is having a dynamic season with the Houston Texans and is over-delivering him and D'Amico Ryans over there and Will Anderson of what they've been able to do this season. They just blew out the Browns last week in their wild card playoff game for Stroud's first playoff game appearance, and Stroud balled out. I mean, he delivered, was very efficient with the football, was 16 for 21, I think 270, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I think that's really what's going to give them a chance in this game. Due to Stroud not turning the ball over or not making inerrant throws, he's able to constantly put his team in a position to move the football down the field methodically and also give his team a chance to win. Obviously, Nico Collins is one of his number one targets. He's been having an extraordinary breakout season as well on the Texans, and he obviously has Dalton Schultz and Singletary. Right now, the spread is 9.5 Ravens, and the over-under is 45.5. Now, depending on the weather and how CJ plays in the weather, I do like the over in this game. I do think it'll be a shootout on both sides of the football, but I also do like how well the Ravens have played against all the top teams in the NFL. They've dominated them for the most part. The spread is 9.5 Ravens. Now you have storylines. All right, so storylines, right? We're going to go into Lamar Jackson. In his 4 playoff games in his career, he has 900 yards with a passer rating of 68.3 and 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So obviously in these playoff games, Lamar hasn't played to the standard we know he's capable of. Obviously right now this season, he's playing at an MVP caliber, but also he has won an MVP in the past. Now for Lamar Jackson, he has home field advantage through the playoffs, securing that number 1 seed for the Baltimore Ravens. We expect him to make the run finally and get into the Super Bowl. So this is a key game for him because even as well as he's played, as good as his career has been, you're obviously ultimately highlighted, but not only if you can get to an AFC Championship game, but if you can get to the Super Bowl and the ultimate dance and then obviously win the Super Bowl. So we have to kind of like lay that out and kind of the pressure of Lamar and the team and the expectations, but I do think the team will be ready and I do think they'll show up in this game. Some key players for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, obviously we just talked about him, 3,678 passing yards. He's a front runner for the MVP. He has 24 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And he's also 67.2% of his passes completed. He also has an additional 821 rush yards, which is what in a lot of debates, they don't talk about Lamar Jackson and his ability to run the football, how effective he is running the football, and how important that is to his component of the game, not only for the Ravens offense, but for himself as a player. The Ravens have a stout defense, 6 in pass yards allowed, 14 in rush yards allowed, 1st in points allowed. So the defense is really good. So CJ Stroud will have some difficulties playing against a top-notch defense, but he showed us against the Cleveland Browns that wasn't an issue. So, I'm expecting a lot from him in that terms of things. All right, so we have some key players to Texans. Nico Collins has 1,297 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns on 80 catches while being targeted 109 times. Dalton Schultz will be heavily involved as well, 59 catches and 635 yards. So, like I said, CJ has the weapons. He has the ability to move the ball in this game. What I do think it'll come down to mistake-prone football. I also think the Ravens will edge them out just from being a better team, more equipped, and having a better defense. But I'm not going to lie. It's hard to go against CJ Stroud and the Texans. I mean, he's showing us week in and week out why he was picked where he was and why the team has improved so much with him at the helm. So, yeah, right now we're going to go into the other game. Chiefs versus the Bills, 7:15 on Sunday. Storylines for this game. This is Maahomes versus Allen, number 3. They played multiple times in the playoffs. They obviously played a lot of times being in the AFC and being, franchise quarterbacks for the respective programs. But this is truly, I think, a legacy game for Josh Allen. He finally controls his destiny with the Bills by having Maahomes at home. Obviously, in these matchups prior, Maahomes has been so good in the AFC and the Chiefs have secured the number 1 seed so many times that, Josh Allen hasn't had the ability to control and dictate the game. Obviously, playing in Buffalo is such an advantage. They had to reschedule the game due to the snow against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is extremely cold there, and it is extremely hard to play there. Now, the Chiefs just showed against the Dolphins that it doesn't matter. They played in some cold weather as well, and Maahomes, I mean, if you guys watched our Prize Picks Parlay segment brought to you by me and Rue currently, you saw that we picked under on the passing attempts, and Mahomes was throwing the ball around like Brett Favre. So obviously Andy Reid will have some kind of scheme laid out, and maybe that was just kind of how the Dolphins were, and they thought they could, expose that team from a matchup perspective. But I expect Mahomes to be fine in the weather. I expect the Chiefs to be fine in the weather due to the fact they play in that weather as well. We saw last year when the Cincinnati Bengals went up to Buffalo and beat them in that blizzard game, right? So obviously, like, the weather, I don't really think is a big factor unless it's a team like Miami, right? Most of these guys are used to playing in cold weather. Pittsburgh, I mean, even was used to playing in that kind of weather. This could also be a revenge game for Mahomes due to the disappointing loss he had earlier in the season. Obviously, you guys saw when Kadarius Toney was lined up off sides. Travis Kelce made that amazing play throwing the football back across his body, but, he ended up getting called off sides, and that ended up being really the reason why the Bills have home field advantage in this game. Winning that game was the determining factor for this playoff seeding and who's playing who and who's going on the road. All right, so Mahomes is 8-1-1 as an underdog in his career. This is also his first road playoff game. Mahomes is 2-0 against Buffalo in his playoff career, and he arguably has the best defense he's ever had in his career with. So I think that'll help him a lot. Not only will he, plays extremely well against Buffalo and extremely well against anyone, but he actually has a comparable defense in case he has a slow start to stop Josh Allen and the weapons they have over there with James Cook, Gabe Davis, Shakur, and Stephon Diggs. Now, if I were to pick a team, I think I'd have to go with the Chiefs. Until Buffalo can prove they can beat them, it'll be hard to pick against Mahomes. Mahomes is obviously the new era Tom Brady or the new era Patrick Mahomes. He's the closest to chasing Tom Brady. I personally like greatness, so I want him to continue to win and execute at a high level. But, this is the opportunity for Josh Allen to start writing his script and writing his destiny and being that other quarterback to challenge Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And, obviously you have young bulls like CJ Stroud coming up as well. In playoff games versus the Bills, Mahomes has thrown 6 touchdowns in 2 games, and he has 703 yards with a passer rating of 125.2. Josh Allen has thrown 6 touchdowns and 1 interception against the Chiefs for 616 yards. Both quarterbacks hold on to the ball, and I think it'll come down to the last possession in this game. Now, I truly think the Bills have to let Diggs get involved more. He's obviously one of my favorite receivers in the NFL, but he's only averaging 48.4 yards in his last 5 games. I think in a game like this, you have to get your best weapons involved. Legs on the QBs are going to be a big factor. Now, Mahomes has used his legs really well this year, running for 389 yards and only finishing with a negative rushing yards once against the Patriots this season. Josh Allen, I like to call him a turnover machine. He might give you 45 touchdowns. He might give you 30 interceptions. Plus, as much as he does like to run and not slide, he does fumble the ball or is prone to hits that might make him lose and fumble the football. But Allen has ran for 525 yards this season, averaging 4.7 a carry. He has been positive in every game with his rushing yards, so he hasn't had any negative games. But he's averaging 36.4 yards per carry. One of these QBs will break a big scramble run and cause havoc. Josh Allen also has 15 touchdowns on the ground this season, so look for this to be a real weapon. So like I said, it's going to be hard for me to pick against Mahomes. I really like him in this spot. I think he gets it done, and I think the Chiefs do beat the Bills and go to the AFC Championship. In another game, I do think the Ravens win this game in a struggle. CJ Stroud puts on another good performance, but I think ultimately the Ravens just have too much, and I think this will set up a nice legacy matchup between Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in the AFC Championship. But if you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for all the love and feedback that we got on the wildcard videos. I hope these ones do better. We can get 200 views on these ones and 20 likes. That would be amazing. Share it with a friend. Share it with someone that you think would like the insight. If there's any feedback, please let us know in the comments below what you would like to see added to these videos. But it's your boy Cam from Opinionated, and I'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.